Okay, the September 6th meeting of the Board of Education is now in session. Please rise for the invocation, which is here. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. At the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.03 is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Item 2.04 is establish agenda order, and the agenda stands as published. Item 2.05 is recognitions. First, I'd like to welcome Colin Reinhardt as our new board member. Colin was just sworn in on Friday and gets to hit the road running for the first week of school, so welcome. We also would like to recognize that today is Ms. Burge's birthday, so everyone please say happy birthday to her. And now I would like to ask Delegate Beidel and Ms. Kipke and Ms. Pickard to come forward, please.
Good morning. If there are any other members of the School Board Appointment Commission, can I ask them to come up also? I think at least one more. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity this morning. For those of you that don't know, I'm Pam Beidel. I'm chair of the Anne Arundel County Delegation, and I happen to also represent District 32, which is where our new board member's from. So welcome, Colin. Thank you very much for taking on this task. I particularly want to thank the School Board Appointment Commission. For those of you that followed the delegation the last 2 years, it was really a difficult process that we went through to create first the School Board Nominating Commission, and then last year it became an appointment commission. And I thought they did a great job. I was out of the country, but was watching, the meetings after. And I think that Susanna Kipke as chair and Allison as vice chair just did a great job. It's a tough decision to make, especially when you have 22 candidates to interview and then try to pick the one that you think will best serve the board. So, Mr. Reinhardt, you have some big responsibilities to fill there. But the recognition I bring today is for Bob Mosier, and he was just dying to know who this was for. So he couldn't stand not knowing everything that was on the board agenda today. Mr. Mosier, if you'll come up, please. Not always. So, Mr. Mosier, this is an official citation from the entire delegation, but not only for your work helping Susanna and Allison through the appointment commission, but for the last 2 years in the delegation. You have really provided very valuable resource and help to the entire delegation. I don't think we would have been able to pass the appointment commission and the elected school board without your help. So we really thank you. It's hard to get all of us, all 15 of us on one citation, but we did it for Bob. So official recognition, be it hereby known to all that sincerest congratulations are offered to Robert Mosier, Director of Communications, AACPS, in recognition of tireless efforts helping to support the newly formed School Board Appointment Commission. Your work will carry the commission through 2020. Thank you for your dedication to such important work for our community. Presented this 6th day of September by the entire Anne Arundel County delegation.
Thank you very much.
Can we get a picture? Somebody get a picture?
Nice job. Nice job.
How about the appointment commission with us? Can we do that? Sure.
Just
This way?
Yeah, to Allison.
Okay.
Just want to get the...
You got it? Thank you. Thank you.
Bob was instrumental in the appointment commission being carried out, but there were a number of other school employees that put in extra time and efforts and evenings to help with it. And I would like to thank all of the other staff, including our tireless, fabulous team that does the television broadcast. Chris Kowal, Bob Sonera, Eric Cloyd, John Francis, Jeanette Ortiz, our legislative services person, Molly Connolly, and Diane Howell from the board office, and they were wonderful throughout this process. Thank you all for your extra work and time. So, item 2.06 is Employee of the Month, Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Just want to make sure before we start that today we honor an employee in our school system whose outstanding performance and human impact can be felt in every school building in our county. The ability to capture memories for others while putting them in just the right position to help turn a photograph into a vivid memory is what separates the very good from the very best. Mike Edgar is one of the very best.
Who do you take a picture
There's
of?
nowhere to hide.
Running away.
As a photographer for AACPS, Mike circles the county, often with little advance notice, to help create memories for students, teachers, employees, volunteers, and many others. Unlike typical photo sessions, Mike is often at the mercy of the unknown, and like true action photographers, he must be prepared to capture the right shot at the right angle with the right lighting, sometimes with no second chances. Mike does this very well, and proof of this is in the litany of photos he has taken that can be seen in every school and in buildings like this one. Mike's creative agility and spirit of collaboration make him an ideal member of any team. When you interact with Mike, you can't help but be excited and have your spirits uplifted. Students, faculty, and staff in nearly every school have vivid memories of Mike because he goes out of his way not only to help, but to make a difference for others he encounters. There is clear evidence of his work by the countless photos he has taken, but the evidence extends to feedback offered by his colleagues about relationships he has developed. During most photo sessions, the biggest smiles are those in front of the camera. In Mike's case, sometimes the biggest smile is behind the camera. Mike's smile is contagious and creates an environment that is welcoming and high-spirited. His humble and authentic approach, exemplified not only in his photography but in his day-to-day interactions with colleagues, contribute to a positive atmosphere from which everyone can benefit. Mike's talent is enormous, but that talent is matched by a spirit of camaraderie and pursuit of excellence that is rare to find in a single individual, said Chief Communications Officer Bob Mosier. Mike not only is able to put smiles on the faces of those he photographs, but also on the faces of those with whom he interacts on a daily basis. Mike Edgar, you exemplify the definition of a consummate professional and will do anything to help the school system. Your ability to put people you photograph at ease is just part of the equation. Certainly capturing the right photo is key to your success, but ensuring that people are comfortable and ready for the right shot is what separates photographs from photographers. So on behalf of the Board of Education, the teachers, students, and staff of the Anne Arundel County Public Schools, we honor you today as Employee of the Month for September 2017. Congratulations.
Come on down, stand. Hold your certificate up.
Is this where I stand?
So, you know the question. How did they get you here today?
They made him come to work. Every every other Wednesday I have to be here. Someone from my department has to be here. So today was the day, and you know, it's regular order of business. You know, the board meeting and first week of school. So.
And I know we saw a line of people come in to be with you today. Is there anyone you want to recognize?
My mom and dad, Judy and Don Edgar, are both here. And my girlfriend, Vicki LaMartina, is here. And my office colleagues from Design and Print are here. Steve Gray, Jim Houck, Susan Kowalski, Michelle Wilson. So. And everybody in the room, thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, you please stay for a picture, Mike. All right. So item 2.07, sorry, is school and community highlights.
I will start with a couple of events that I attended prior to the school. One of them was the Annapolis High School annual open house. I must say it was an outstanding one. There was a lot of food. There was a lot of young freshmen right there ready to go without knowledge about anything. They were walking the classrooms and basically trying to figure it out how they would remember where to go. The other one that I went that again was the ribbon cutting ceremony at Meade High School. They really got a huge and beautiful athletic field. And yesterday with Dr. Arlotto and several of my board members, we attended school opening days for Windsor Elementary, Annapolis Elementary, Monarch, which is our new public-private school, if we want to call it that, and Cape St. Clair Elementary.
Ms. Burge.
Thank you. First day of school visits were wonderful yesterday. I also had the opportunity on Friday before last to go to the TAC Educator Appreciation Picnic at Sandy Point and had a wonderful time talking to teachers who were excited to start the school year. So thank you for the invitation, and it was a wonderful time, and I'm always ready to appreciate our educators. So,
Ms. Nally.
Well, I want to echo what Mrs. Sasso had to say and Mrs. Burge. It was a wonderful day of visiting Windsor Farms, Cape St. Clair, the new Monarch Academy, and Annapolis Elementary, where I got to see my grandchildren in 1st and 5th grade. I have to say that. But I also want to give a kudos and shout out to all the staff, and the teachers, the staff, everyone who worked so hard to make our first day extremely successful. I mean, this is saying a lot. We have, I think, 83,000 students. And if I judge by my emails, I didn't get one email complaint. So I don't know, but it looks like it was a smooth first day opening. So thank you everyone who contributed to that.
Dr. Arlotto.
Thank you, Mrs. Hummer. Again, let me echo thanks to the board for making those visits with us yesterday. It is wonderful to get out and see our students on the first day, see our teachers. It is really very exciting. Those butterflies are still there after 30 years of being in this business, and so thank you for that. I also want to thank Mr. Benfer for visiting schools with us yesterday. Thank you for your attendance. Mrs. Brandenburg for your attendance, and Mr. Shu joined us at Cape St. Clair Elementary. It was a fabulous visit. And Mr. Walker. Yes, Mr. Walker was with us as well throughout the entire day. Thank you. He just wasn't in the room, so I didn't see him, so my apologies. I do want to thank the staff. It is no easy feat to open a school system for over 82,000 students. We had a couple of hiccups in transportation and otherwise, but that is common at this time of year, and so I thank you, each and every one of you and your teams and your staff. The buildings look fabulous. Mr. Sheknovich, you and your team have done a fabulous job. Technology was up and working, Mr. Barlow, so I do want to thank each and member of the team. Thank you for all your work to get the school year open. We're off and running. Let me do, among the many events I attend, there was one in particular last week that I got to attend, and it was the first Crofton is Kind event. and issues that occurred at Crofton Middle School last spring spurred some community effort, some grassroots effort. And Kristen Caminiti and some of her, she was the leader, started grassroots effort about really welcoming students and welcoming staff and welcoming the community, making sure that Crofton is a really welcoming community. And they had their first event last week. Mr. Truffer and I were invited to attend, and we are honored to be there, as well as a number of the principals from the Crofton area. And Kristen did a fabulous job. She involved students. There were skits. There was work for the students to do and the parents to do. And it was about bullying. And it was about inclusion, and it was about recognizing if somebody's alone at a cafeteria table, how you can bring them in, and if somebody says mean things in the hallway, how you can counteract that and really be part of that community. And so I wanted to thank her, and I'm going to invite Krista to come up, and if we could get a chair for her, would you come up and tell us a little bit more about the efforts that you're making, because these are efforts that as we're talking about our campaign across the school system, certainly you can go to the microphone. I want to invite her to tell us a little bit more about what's happening in the Crofton is Kind movement, and it's something that we'd like to scale to the entire system. So welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me here today. I appreciate you and Mr. Truffer and so many administrators who came to our event on the 24th. First, I'd like to thank all of you for your service to Anne Arundel County Public Schools. My husband just recently ran for the position that Mr. Reinhardt got, and we were thrilled to see a fellow teacher turned businessman get the position, and so I wish you the best of luck. And I thank all of you so very much for your commitment. So I started Crofton is Kind actually back in November. November 9th, if anyone knows the significance of that date. And I was just kind of feeling really down on the state of affairs in our country and our community. And that particular day, I said, I got to get out there and I need to turn this day around for myself and for my family. So my kids and I went out that day and we started spreading kindness. And I did not intend to start a 501c3. We just started spreading kindness around Crofton. And then a couple of friends of mine heard what we did and said, hey, if next time you do that, I want to join you. And so I started a Facebook group. And we did a couple events. I held a kindness party and things like that. And our Facebook group hovered around like 30 for a while. And then, sadly, a hateful act occurred at Crofton Middle School. And a woman who was a member of our group said, what do you think about us going to the middle school and writing positive messages on the sidewalk to counteract this hateful event that happened? And she kind of thought it would be me and her and maybe her daughter, and we'd show up and we'd paint some messages on the sidewalk. And I said, that's a great idea. And so I figured out how to write a press release, which I'd never done before, and we put out a press release. And on Mother's Day, 300 people showed up. We chalked the entire sidewalk in front of the middle school with positive messages. And I had reached out to every news outlet that covered the news event, and I said, if you're going to cover the negative, you have to cover the positive. And almost every single one of them showed up. And then our group grew. And now we are over 600 people. We've hosted a number of events, including the Chalk the Walk event. We held a Kindness Rocks event where we painted rocks that have now been spread all around Crofton and all over that just show kindness, positive messages. I partnered with Nantucket Elementary School, and just at the time that Dr. Arlotto's Be Nice campaign started, we started a Random Act of Kindness campaign at Nantucket. And really my goal is simply to foster kindness in children and spread kindness in the community. And this has grown so much that I am in the process now of developing an official 501c3. And that 501c3 is not going to be called Crofton is Kind. It is going to be called We Cultivate Kindness. So Crofton is Kind will be a project of We Cultivate Kindness, because I don't want this to be something that is just specific to Crofton. I want it to be something that can spread far and wide, that doesn't make anyone feel excluded. We are not religiously affiliated. We are not politically affiliated. We want anyone and everyone who supports kindness to feel they can be a part of this. And so I've got a lot of huge ideas for the future. I would love to be able to give kids grants for kindness projects. So they would have to write a proposal, submit a budget, state what they wanted to do with that money to spread kindness, and then I'd give them the money to do it, and then they'd have to report back as to how it went. I'd love to be able to fund character education in the schools. So I'm just really looking forward to opportunities to partner with Anne Arundel County Public Schools to spread kindness, to foster kindness in our kids and our students and our administrators. I know that the schools already do a great job of that, but we can always use help. And so I brought some things for you. You're each going to get a handout that has all this information. I are also some It's Cool to Be Kind bracelets in there. If you happen to live in Crofton and you know Mr. Solo, he will give you a free blow pop if you have your bracelet on. But that was something we coordinated at the anti-bullying event. And then there's also in there what are called You Were Caught Being Kind cards. And we've handed out over 1,000 of those in the community. And you would be surprised at how much, it doesn't matter if it's a 5-year-old, a teenager, a 70-year-old person, you just see them doing something kind and you hand them this card that says you were caught being kind, and it just brightens their day. So there's cards in there for you that you can hand out and spread as well. And so my contact information is on there as well. I would love to hear from any of you who have ideas about how to collaborate and continue spreading kindness in the community. Thank you. Thanks.
So at the beginning of school is so exciting. I love hearing things like that are so positive coming out. I went along with Ms. Sasso and Dr. Olato for the ribbon cutting at Meade High School, that they finally have bathrooms at the stadium, which is incredibly exciting way to start the school year. They're going to have all the stadium seats in time for their first football game this weekend. And visiting schools yesterday, you always get fired up when you see them walking in with their giant backpacks, on, and so fired up. My favorite was, they said, "What can you do to make this year a great year?" And he said, "Push in my chair so no one trips." I was like, there you go. That's a great way to start the year. So everything's starting on a positive note. And to go along with our kindness and starting the positive year, the school system has kicked off a campaign to help Houston, and we're going to share our video with our own Melvin Edwards.
CPS Communications Office. I'm proud to be a part of this great school system, and I'm really proud to be a native of the great city of Houston. The people in my hometown are struggling, but there are two things I know for sure. First, Texans are the most resilient folks in the nation. And second, there is no more caring community than right here in Anne Arundel County. That's why we've launched Help Houston, a campaign to raise money for those impacted by the devastation wrought by Hurricane Harvey. Schools across our county are collecting money through September 30th with the goal of raising $200,000 to be donated directly to the Houston Independent School District Foundation to help children and families in the district. You can send donations with your child to school or drop them off at any school or school system office yourself. If you want to write a check, please make it out to AACPS's 21st Century Education Foundation. You can donate online at www.aacps.org/helphouston. This is an incredibly generous community, and together I know we can meet or exceed our goal. Remember, every penny we collect will go directly to the Houston Independent School District Foundation. Let's show the children and families of Houston how much we care about them. Thank you.
So it's a great way for us to share our kindness. And I believe, Dr. Arletta, we have been challenged by Dr. Maxwell in Prince George's County.
That's correct. The CEO, Dr. Maxwell, Prince George's County, has launched a challenge with the 5 large school districts. So he has challenged Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, Howard County, Baltimore City, and Baltimore County to raise funds to go to Houston. Different though each of those jurisdictions has risen to the challenge. They've accepted the challenge. Their monies might not be going directly to the independent school district and their foundation the way ours are. Some have chosen the Red Cross and some other agencies, but the challenge has been laid on the table and we have accepted it.
And I love that we chose the school system, because that's a school system of 200,000 students, and some of the schools, they say, will not be ready to be open for over a year. So they have a lot of challenges ahead of them. So anyway, we can help out their teachers and families. So, Birch.
I do believe, and I just wanted to say this about the Houston School District, I think that they said that for the whole year, all students will be provided breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because they know there's going to be a lot of food uncertainty in that area, so they want to make sure that when their students can come back to school, that they are ready to learn, and that food is not an issue for them. So, perhaps some of our funds will go to help with that. So anything we can do to help those kids, I think, is wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. The superintendent there is, my understanding, has been working 24/7 and trying to find places. There are some schools that will be able to open on the outskirts. A number of schools will not be able to open for some time, so they'll be relocating kids, relocating students to other schools where they can and other facilities. They're also now contemplating, my understanding, is doing double shifts. So mornings and afternoons of 2 shifts of students throughout the day and double busing, moving students 2 times in and out of schools in shifts. So I know they're working diligently to get those students back in school. I believe they're hoping to have students back in school by the 11th of September, but time will tell.
Mr. Reinhardt. Oh, you good? Okay. All right. Next is item 2.08, the PTA report. Ms. Pickard.
Good morning, President Hummer, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. For the record, I can now read my name. My name is Allison Pickard, and I'm the president of the Council of PTAs. The council would like to welcome all students, parents, teachers, and administrators back to school. We would also like to encourage everyone to join their PTA and help to make their school community an inclusive, enriching, and supportive place where all students can thrive this year. The council would also like to thank all those parents and teachers that have stepped up to fill a leadership role in their PTA. The council and Maryland PTA stand ready to support these leaders with fulfilling the mission. We are just an email or phone call away. We are currently supporting PTAs in every cluster through mentoring and guidance, and look forward to a great year of leadership and advocacy on behalf of all county students. Maryland PTA will be holding an all-day regional training here in Anne Arundel County on Saturday, September 16th at the Carver Center in Gambrels. Please go to marylandpta.org for more information and register for the training. The council strongly recommends, I can't see when I do that, strongly recommends PTA leaders attending training, and this is a very timely one. Like lots of PTAs in the county that are transitioning new leaders, the council will transition leadership roles this fall as well. I am standing down as president of the council to pursue other community activities, and first vice president, Estefania Holler, will assume the role of president. Steph would have liked to have been here today, but she's attending her child's pre-K conference, which is exciting. Steph came to the council having volunteered with Nantucket Elementary in Crofton. She has 2 boys currently in AACPS, and during her year as first vice president, Steph served as the Maryland PTA board representative, was the architect of the Founders Day celebration, participated in Leadership Anne Arundel's Neighborhood Leadership Academy for emerging community members, and served as one of 2 PTA representatives on the School Board Appointment Commission this summer. Impressive, yeah? Wait, there's more. Steph is also bilingual, which has served the council well as we strive to welcome all parents to the PTA family across the county. I'm excited to pass the PTA baton to Steph. She will continue the work we started together and move the County Council of PTAs even farther. I have had the privilege to serve with her over the last year and am proud to be able to call her my friend. The council will meet on the 2nd Tuesday of every month here at the Parham Building, and Tuesday, September 12th will be an important meeting as the council builds out its new leadership team. I encourage PTA leaders across the county to come and get involved at the county level. With that, I say, I think it's going to be a great school year, and every child, one voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pickard, for your service on the Council of PTAs. Next is item 2.08, or is it 2.09? I think I'm off, which is the CAC report. Melanie.
Good morning and welcome to a new school year. It is very exciting. I have 3 children in the county, one at Arundel High School, one at Crofton Middle, one at Crofton Elementary. So as of today, they are all back in school, which is fabulous. So we are moving on. I'd like to take an opportunity at the beginning of this 2017-18 academic year to introduce myself again. I was the chair last year and I'll be returning for a second year as chair. I do represent the Arundel cluster and we have 2 vice chairs this year. One is Kelly Purnell, who was our vice chair last year, and she represents the South River cluster. And then we have a second vice chair, I'm just making sure she didn't just walk in. Ternita Moore, who represents the Old Mill cluster and served on as a representative to the policy committee. So some of you may have met her at policy committee meetings. The CAC will continue to meet on the second Monday of every month, with the exception of December and March, just due to events in those year. Our first meeting of the year, similar to PTA, we're all getting started, is Monday, the 11th of September. So Mrs. Hummer, we look forward to welcoming you there. And we already have some speakers on deck from the staff for some upcoming changes. So we're excited to learn about how we can help disseminate that information this year. That first night, we do have 7 new members. Thank you. You appointed them, I guess, 2 weeks ago. So we'll be welcoming them Monday as well. And we'll have from 6 to 7, so before our official meeting, a new member orientation for them. We're very excited for this year. We have 22 returning members. So we do thank you for that third-year extension that you have allowed, so that we could have some continuity. And so a lot of people did take that opportunity for a third year. So we have 22 returning members, 7 new members, and then we're looking to fill the PIAC representative. So I'll work with Teresa Tudor to get that, and then we'll be a full slate. As you know, we did work on some issues last year. They included equity, communication, testing, transportation, and wellness. I will be getting with Mrs. Hummer and the board to plan for the next year, looking at our progress and making sure that we take into account priorities that you have as well as those from the community. So as we get our year started, we'll put together that agenda and make plans. We look forward to working with you. I will say that from Crofton, I might have a speaker for one of our, so I'll make sure I get her contact information and probably have you come to one of our future meetings if you're willing. I think that would be a great way to get the word out through the CAC to our communities. So I will be sure to work on that. So I just want to close today thanking the board and the staff. Bob Mosier, I'm excited that you got that award. I feel like communication's really going well. At least, well, maybe it's because I sit on the CAC, but I feel like that we're really trying to get the word out. There are a lot of press releases. The schools are doing a great job getting the word out. So thank you. The efforts are being noticed, and hopefully we can play a part in that as well. Thank you.
We are going to take a very short break so that Mike can have his picture taken for once with his family. So. All right, let's get started. Okay. Next, we're going to enter the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each. The board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing this meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. So I do have some completed cards first. Others who may wish may come forward after the cards. You may either stand at the podium or speak from the chairs, whichever you prefer. So first will be, and please forgive my pronunciation if I'm not getting this right, Chung Zhao, Jeroen Zhang, Mike Shea, Jessica O'Kane, Randy Williams, and Lisa Van Buskirk. And if Ms. Zhao and Ms. Zhang would go first, because they have an interpreter with them. They let them go first with their interpreter. Yes, come right on up. Thank you.
If he can sit or stand, you can stand beside her or sit, whichever you want.
大家早上好，我是一位今年小孩刚进初中的家长，我们于1年前来到这个美丽的国家。
Mr. Yeh, you have to speak into the microphone.
Okay. This microphone is okay.
Either microphone you want.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a parent of one student today, this year, just getting into high school, middle school.
这是一个崭新的开始，在很多都不熟悉的情况下，开始新的生活。
This is all new for me. We are not familiar with this education system and also the language problem.
对于美国的教育系统非常的不了解，再加上语言的障碍，很多的事情都无法正常的沟通。
So we cannot doing the good communication with a teacher, with school.
但生活还是得继续。不久，学校开学了。
But the life is well going on, and the student will be in the school.
怀着一颗不安的心来到学校，但是感觉到学校的老师的热情以及细心、负责任的态度，心头顿感轻松以及温暖。
But when I get the school, I see the teacher. It's all so warm heart to welcome us. We get a little release.
但是不久后，问题也随之而来。有时候学校第2天放假，语言不通，傻傻的站在那里等校车。
But the problem come in once the next day is no school, but they don't know. They're still waiting there for the school bus.
有时候提前2个小时放学，语言不懂，还以为发生了什么事情。
Sometimes the school is release student home 2 hours earlier, but they don't know why. Think something happened.
学校寄来的成绩单语言不懂，也把它放在家里收起来。
the school report, send it to them, they cannot read it, and they just put aside.
更别说学校有一些哪些社团、哪些活动，居于种种。
And they don't know school have other activities and communication group, whatever, they don't know.
我们家长也明显的感觉小孩在学校有不少的苦恼，似乎笑容也少了。
They think the kid in the school will be a lot of worry. They at home the smile is less.
作为家长，我们也很着急，但又不知道该怎么去帮助他。
As a parents, we are worried, but we don't know how to help them.
幸好开学不久接到一个电话，
But after school opened, I got a phone call.
是中文双语协调员打过来的。
It's a bilingual teacher called them.
我才知道AACPS 设置了专门一个帮助我们中国家长解决困难、提供服务的人员。
So they know in the AACPS have this kind of service. The bilingual teacher can help them to solve this problem. Communication, students problem, whatever. They are glad.
这对于我们来说帮助太大了。我们有什么不明白的事情，都可以通过双语协调员咨询，与学校沟通。
So this, like a bilingual teacher, is very helpful for them, since they have some problem, they can ask the bilingual teacher.
解决很多的问题，这样对于我们来说太好了。在双语协调员Miss陈的帮助下，我们了解了很多事情，准时回复学校的各种通知，以及参加学校的各种活动。
And Miss Chen.
Miss Chen, yeah.
After Miss Chen's help, they know everything, the school's assignment, and they have to, whatever the kid have to do, they are doing it right away.
以及了解小孩在学校的一些状况，和学校也建立好良好的沟通。
And they know how the kid in the school, and they want to make the teacher and the kid have a good relation.
比如阅读，参加阅读、小提琴，我发现笑容也重新回到孩子脸上，人也更加自信了。比较快乐融入到学校生活中，我们觉得很高兴。
And they find the kid can read and play violin, and the smile is more on their face. They are happy.
但是在前不久听到一个坏消息，双语协调员的职位被撤销了。
But just a while ago, they heard a bad news says the bilingual position it's no more.
这个职位对于我们英语不好的学生以及家长来说特别重要。
This position for help the English is not mother tongue, and also the parents, it's very important.
它并不是一个可有可为的职位，它是一个很好的桥梁，夹在学生和家长之间。
This is not you can have it or don't have it. You have to have this, get the bridge between the teacher, parents, and the students together.
在通过和不少中国家长接触后，我发现有很多的家长都跟我一样，都非常需要双语协调员的帮助。
She found out a lot of other, like the same person from China, and they also need the bilingual help.
我们对于目前
Wrap it up. Just come to an end. Get to the end. She just needs to.
我们希望能够教育委员和相关部门经理可以认真考虑广大学生家长和学生的意愿和需求，恢复中文双语协调员这一职位。谢谢。
We hopefully everybody sit here, the board can recover this position for the bilingual teacher. Okay?
谢谢 ，Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jiren Zhang. I am a Chinese parent with 2 school-age girls, both attending public schools here. Today, I'm here to express my deepest concern regarding your budget cut decision of the Chinese bilingual facilitator's position in the coming school year. As many first generation of immigrants, when my kids first started school here, I struggled, along with many other Chinese parents, because we knew very little about how the school system works here. And I even know some parents who wouldn't go to any parents' conference or any PTO meetings simply because they are intimidated by their limited English. Last year, we were so glad that we finally had a part-time Chinese bilingual facilitator. Even though our facilitator only got paid 4 hours a week, the amount of work and help provided had helped the community tremendously. And because of her help, we finally get to understand how the school system works. And most importantly, we are able to get the first-hand information of all the resources, services, and programs designed just for the international families. As a result, more and more Chinese parents are willing to participate in more school activities and can help our children with their academic success. Now we are all shocked to know that this 4-hour per week position has been cut. This simply does not make any sense. As far as I know, other similar-sized minority groups still have their own facilitators who work 20 hours a week. And as a big important part of this big, diverse international family, we believe the Chinese community are entitled to the fair share of resources that are available. I know you have an Office of School and Family Partnership, and one of the biggest mission is to provide support and service to all the international families. Therefore, we sincerely urge the board to reconsider the budget, keep the Chinese bilingual facilitator's position, and allocate enough hours for the Chinese community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming out and expressing your concerns. This is actually something I'm not aware of. I'm not sure what's going on, so I was hoping maybe the superintendent could share some information.
I'll certainly check in to find out the specifics about this part-time bilingual facilitator that's being referred to. I don't know the intricacies of that individual. But it is, as this board is well aware, as this community is well aware, that we are on a tight budget. And so decisions were made over the course of summer in a number of areas that cuts had to be made in order to put as many folks in the classroom as possible based on our current budget. But I will certainly find out and let the board know about this particular case.
But we didn't cut the budget for bilingual facilitators. I know we asked for more.
We
didn't get any more.
We did not get any more. Correct.
Okay.
We did not get.
So
any
even
more.
though our needs are
We
greater,
did not increase any staffing this year.
So
No.
even though our needs were greater, we didn't have anything to fill that void.
Correct, and that includes not only bilingual facilitators, but our ESOL teachers, as you know, we'd asked for teaching. As we increase the number of students in our classrooms, our classroom sizes have grown this year because we were not able to hire additional teachers. That also includes special education and other areas around the county where, as we have grown, as our Chinese population has grown and the need for those bilingual facilitators. We're still providing translators as we can. When needs are in schools, we'll provide translators, but it's different. A translator versus a bilingual facilitator that's really wrapping their arms around that particular community is very different.
Okay. Well, if you could get back to us with some information about how and why that specific decision was made, I would appreciate it.
I might have missed it, but what school is this bilingual facilitator serving? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Grannon.
Dr. Arlotto, I wasn't clear. Are you able to confirm at this time that the position was even eliminated as opposed to the person, for example, just no longer being interested in the position or having moved on or something like that? Do you know it was eliminated?
I can't confirm any of it.
Okay. So
and I wouldn't talk about it publicly about because we're talking about an individual. This is not a bulk of people. This is an individual. So I wouldn't talk about it out in public if I knew exactly. But in all honesty, I don't know exactly what the circumstances are as to why we don't have this part-time bilingual facilitator at this time. But I'll certainly find out.
Okay, but just to reiterate then, so everyone here is aware, neither this board nor Dr. Arlotto apparently presented any budget that proposed that this position be cut. There was no proposal by Dr. Arlotto and no recommendation by this board that that position be eliminated.
I'm glad to find out. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ms. Sasso.
You just answered one of my questions. You said there's 300 students. Is the language that you're requiring Mandarin Chinese?
Majority of them,
Okay, thank you.
Next public comment, please. Mr. Shea.
Good morning, Board. This morning, I would like to speak to process and transparency. And maybe you're familiar with the Maryland Open Meeting Act or law. There's very few reasons that you can go into closed session. It's very restrictive. And it's my understanding that to go into closed session, you need a vote in public to go into closed session. And one of the reasons that you're not supposed to be in closed sessions is discussing land use issues. So in terms of process and transparency, after I'm finished speaking later today, I'll ask Tyson Bennett what issues you were speaking in private, whether it was employee issues, legal issues that you needed. But I would like to find, as a member of the public, I want to make sure that we're correct in terms of process and transparency. Dr. Lito mentions Kevin Maxwell. And in terms of process and transparency recently in the last few days, Kevin Maxwell, along with hearing the concerns of parents, dropped the contract with Milestone to build cell towers in Prince George's County. So,
Mr. Shea, if you go into the cell tower, that's an agenda item, and you would have to speak on that later.
no,
if you're gonna-
I'm speaking about process and transparency on a global issue at contracts.
All right, but keep it
And
on.
I have not mentioned Shady Side Cell Tower, and if I can continue on my time, please, I would appreciate that. The other thing is money. The county council gives you half of their operating budget for schools. Half. Your mission is education and the safety of our children. In the Capitol, front page yesterday, safety of the children. And you should really get out of the revenue business. Leave that to the county council. You raise money, they're going to deduct it. They're only going to give you a certain amount of money. The county council is in the business of raising money for the school board. Education and safety. The other thing about process, which is very important, is we should get the process right. A point of order in the agenda that you mentioned, basically, our community was promised by that man back there, right there in the corner, at the public meeting, promised an up or down vote on the cell tower issue. We need to know how you are going to vote. You cannot leave it to others. You cannot leave it to your administration. Up or down vote.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good, because I don't feel like standing up. Good morning, Superintendent Arlotto, Board President Hummer, and fellow board members. And a special happy birthday to Miss Burge. My name is Jessica O'Kane, and I would like to bring to the board's attention, or at least inquire, whether the board knows that in the master lease agreement the board signed with Milestone Communications initially in June 2012, that it indemnifies Milestone from any harm resulting from cell phone towers.
If it's going to be on cell towers, it has to be later in the agenda.
It's not. It's general on the master lease agreement. It has nothing to do with Shady Side.
It's still on cell towers, and that would be, and we've made the decision that all cell tower issues will be on that agenda item.
I can't speak to the master lease agreement and indemnification.
You can speak to it when we come to it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to say one last thing. I really love how Superintendent Maxwell, who was our superintendent previously, has challenged us to the fundraiser with respect to making money, to raising money for hurricane relief. And I hope that Superintendent Maxwell's next challenge to Superintendent Arlotto is to end the master lease agreement with Milestone, as PG County has done with respect to cell towers on public school lands. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Williams. Thank you for having me. I think I spoke with you before. I wanted to talk about technology at our schools in Anne Arundel County. I am a graduate of Southern High School in 1979. My brother used one of the oldest dinosaur computers in 1971 and 72 at Shadyside Elementary School. And he graduated at the University of Maryland with a degree in computer science. And he's one of the lead computer scientists at on the Hubble project. And he's been with them since he graduated from, actually started with an internship. And he's still on the program there now. Which is pretty amazing. One of his best friends, John, graduated from Southern High School in, I think the year before that, on the old dinosaur computers. And he was one of the lead designers of the scanning generators at the Giant Food when you start to scan your food. So those are some amazing technology stories out of our graduates from the early 70s and early 80s. They learned their computer world on the dinosaur computers, and I just think it's unrealistic for an elementary school to feel that they need mobile devices to develop the minds of children. As most of you know, or I hope you know, and if not, I'm going to educate you this because our middle school previous orchestra teacher, Mr. Albright, used to remind us that the smartest kids in the middle school were the children with the orchestra. And they are much smarter than the kids that spend a lot of time on the mobile electronic devices. Okay. You know, elementary school children shouldn't have access to mobile devices at schools, and I don't think that it helps to improve their minds at all. Couple other things. As a registered nurse, in an emergency situation, I just wanted to remind you of a couple issues. The AICD, which is known as the automatic internal cardiac defibrillator, is at most schools. I know it's at the schools that my daughter went to for elementary school. It doesn't require any type of cellular activity to operate. Fire extinguishers, they are your number one line of defense when you have a fire emergency. They don't require any type of mobile activity to help them. In most circumstances, those are our first line of defense, and I hope that our staff are well trained. It's very easy to learn how to use an AICD in your CPR course, and fire extinguisher training is very simple. I trained it at the hospital. The other important thing I wanted to mention that the International Association of Firefighters has adopted their official position opposing the use of cellular towers on their fire stations.
Wrap it up, Ms. Williams. Thank you.
Until a study has confirmed that and proven that such towers are not hazardous to the health of their members. And we're talking about firemen, okay, and EMTs and paramedics. So thank you for your time.
Good morning, Board of Education. Dr. Olato. Lisa Van Buskirk with Start School Later. I wasn't planning to be here until a Severna Park supporter emailed me asking why her bus route was only 8 minutes later after the 13-minute shift. So I started looking at the Severna Park bus routes from 2015 that I printed out and have handed as it's a handout to you. And I compared it to the 2017 routes, and I found some interesting things. 18 bus routes are delayed straight 13 minutes. Including Route 157 on page 2, whose error in 2015 was a 6 a.m. bus stop wedged between 6:42 and 6:44. That is now a 6:13 bus stop between 6:55 and 6:56. 3 bus routes were delayed 8 to 9 minutes. 6 bus routes are only delayed 3 minutes. And 1 bus picks up 2 minutes earlier. How is it possible to pick up 2 minutes earlier if there's a 13-minute delay to school? There's only 3 pickups on that particular one. That's on page 4, bus 013. I'm not going to quality control all of the thousands of bus routes, but I hope you'll have the software do that instead for you. Then I got an email from a special needs parent. We received a letter over the summer that my daughter's school bus to a non-public placement would pick up at 7:15. I was provided with the bus number and a phone number to the company. And this morning, yesterday, the bus showed up at 6:55. Different number, different company, and we missed the bus. I called the transportation office. Yes, someone should have updated you. Well, you know now. Do you still want us to send a letter with updated information? That's not really the customer service that I think ACPS is known for or should be known for. And lastly, I'd like you to look at the photo. Where did I find it? From yesterday that I took of at 5:39 from Southern Middle straight to from Southern Middle going up to Glen Burnie. By Google, it takes 45 minutes to go from Southern Middle School to Glen Burnie High School. Add in the 5 other stops that bus is picking up, it changes it to 57 minutes in Google. So there's 45 minutes of pulling in and out of the different stops that creates a 110-minute bus ride, give or take, depending on how early that bus is dropping off when it gets to Glen Burnie. So during the School Board Appointment Commission interviews, the CCAC representative asked the question. I don't know if he asked you, Mr. Reinhardt. I just don't remember. If 2 hours was too long of a bus ride. And I think whether it's a special needs student or a magnet student, 2 hours on a bus each way is too long. And I think that we can and should do better for our students so that they can arrive at school rested before then they have a full academic day. Special needs, magnet, I don't care. 2 hours is pretty long. After a 2-hour bus ride, I'd be exhausted. So please use the software. Please get help using the software. Dr. Hergani, school bus consultants, somebody, I don't know who. But CPS can do better with their published bus routes. I know you can. And I'll be back next month to ask how the software is going. Thank you.
All right, we're now going to move on to consent items. Items 4.01 through 4.03 are consent items, awards of contract, Do I have a motion to bundle those and move them from information to action? Yes.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the Board of Education approve contracts as listed on today's agenda as 4.01, 4.02, and 4.03.
All right. Okay. All right. Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam President. So I've had sort of a whirlwind tour here of getting started with the Board of Ed. I've had one business day since my swearing in. So I do have a few points of clarity that I'd like regarding agenda item 4.02, the furniture refurbishing contract. Is someone available from MCE or contracts to answer a few questions? Great. So I did receive a brief response regarding my question as to the bidding process for this particular contract. Can you please share that process with the board?
For the record, Alex Checkno, Chief Operating Officer. So this is a cooperative use agreement. It's permitted under the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland government actually creates the contracting instrument, and then it's has a provision in it that facilitates other units of government, be they local or county or a quasi-state agency such as ours, to piggyback or co-op on it.
So who will actually be performing the work for Maryland Correctional Enterprises?
The Maryland Department of Corrections.
So if I understand correctly, is that currently incarcerated individuals?
Correct. They'll be performing the labor. It's overseen by the Maryland Department of Corrections.
Okay. So in the description of the contract that was provided to the board, it looks like there are significant savings for utilizing Maryland Correctional Enterprises for the refurbishing of furniture. Is it your understanding that the savings that the school system realizes by using Maryland Correctional Enterprises is the direct result of utilizing inmate labor?
It is a comparison of refinishing existing assets that we've already purchased and utilized but are capable of being rehabbed versus the outright acquisition of a brand new cafeteria table, for example. So it's a difference between an outright purchase of a new one from an external vendor, whoever that is, and the refurbishment of an existing unit.
So as an LEA, do we have the opportunity to get the refurbishing services from a different organization, corporation, nonprofit, or otherwise?
Absolutely. There's multiple contracting opportunities or pathways that are permissible under state law.
Why weren't those pathways pursued? Why did Anne Arundel County Public Schools opt to go with Maryland Correctional Enterprises?
Because we believe that it provides the best value in return for our price paid for those services.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any other board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All right. Okay. Mr. Gray.
Just a follow-up to Mr. Reinhardt's question. I want to make sure I understand the colloquy that you just had. So the determination was made that this was the best value, but that determination was made without a bidding process.
Correct. The purchasing officer of all jurisdictions has the latitude to conduct research, and based on that research, arrive at a determination that they believe is in the best interest of the school district in this case. And the use of a cooperative bidding instrument, such as the one that's before you, certainly is eligible for that type of analysis and entering into that type of agreement.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Passes 8-1. Next item is item 5.01, administrative personnel appointments. This is an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheets be promoted and or appointed.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Are there any board questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Maria. Ms. Sasso.
I would love to make a comment just because the National Society of the Boards of Education has just started their equity policy division. So it's really nice to see that we basically are with it and we are creating our equity plan too.
So, all right. Now, once again, for the vote, all those in favor? All right. Motion passes 9-0. It's nice to say 9-0. Item 5.02 is personnel, also an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
Second. Are there any board questions or comments? Ms. Burge.
It's always disappointing when you see familiar names on the list of retirements. Did everybody read it closely? Larry Alberts is apparently leaving us on November 1st.
And we are
I
all
know I
very
don't get to vote on that, but I'm just going to put in my objection. I mean, the retirements happen whether we want to or not, but I'm just going to put in my objection now, Larry, okay?
I completely agree with Ms. Burge. I saw that and said, how can we stop this? Because it will be a big hole to fill. So.
Well, I spoke to Larry at the break, and I think if we call his wife, we may can talk him out of retirement, but I'm not sure. You will be missed. Thank you. Thank you.
Motion passes 9-0. All right. Next are policy revisions, third reading. Item 5.03 is Student Nutrition Services, Whole School Code EB. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of policy EB, subject to final correction for style and format.
Second.
All right. Are there any board questions or comments? Ms. Reese, we do have to throw in that chicken teriyaki was a huge hit for the first day of school yesterday. I've got to say that. People were very excited about that. Ms. Brandenburg said her children were thrilled to start school with chicken teriyaki. Are there any public comments? All right. All those in favor? Okay. Motion passes 9-0. Item 5.04 is salaries for teachers, code GBS. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of policy GBS, subject to final correction for style and format.
All right.
Second.
Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All right. All those in favor? Thank you. All right. Motion passes 9-0. Okay. Item 5.05 is student performances, code IKC. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of policy IKC, subject to final correction for style and format.
Second.
All right. Are there any board questions or comments? Okay. Are there any public comments? All those in favor? All right, motion passes 9-0. Thank you. Item 5.06 is instructional materials, code IH. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, I'm recommending approval of the board of policy IH, subject to final correction for style and format.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Are there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comments? All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 9-0. Thank you very much. Jeanette, you got to talk a lot today.
Well, I'm under the weather, so that's good.
Okay. Next is item 5.07, the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2019 capital budget, 6-year plan, and capital improvement plan. This is an information item, and I see that we have a presentation.
For the record, Alex Shaknovich, Chief Operating Officer.
Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities.
So item 5.07 is brought to you this morning as an information-only item. It is inclusive of the FY19 capital budget, the 6-year plan, and the state capital improvement plan. We're bringing this before the board as the first step of a process that's required by us to be completed no later than October 4th of 2017, when we have to submit the CIP into the state of Maryland. The Board of Education has a workshop scheduled on this on the 12th of September, next Tuesday, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in this very room, and it will allow staff an opportunity and the superintendent to go through the capital budget in detail. We'll go project by project and convey the information over to you and field any questions that you may have at that time. The item will come back to you then on the 20th of September, and we'll have 2 steps. We'll conduct a public hearing on the 20th of September, as well as the item will be eligible for a vote. So as I indicated, that we're going to have a workshop coming up, so if I could just take a brief opportunity to orient you to the document before you, and then that's going to be the springboard for our work next Tuesday. So it is in a conventional 4-page format. The first page in total displays the FY19 single-year capital budget. Going left to right then across the page, you'll see the superintendent's recommendation for the priority order in FY19. To the column next to it is where the individual item or project was in the FY18 year. One of the things that you'll see is they're in the exact same order. So nothing has been moved, nothing's been added, nothing's been deleted, and we'll comment to this a little bit later. The project category or the requirement, and it's important to remember that the CIP is line item appropriated. It's different than the operating budget. So each separate requirement is a capital line item both at the state level and at the county level. The superintendent's recommended funding level and then a cumulative total amassing to $216,025,000. The next page takes that same FY19 request and simply disaggregates it by funding sources. There are 2 principal funding sources. So at the 4th column from the left, you'll see per line item what is being requested of the local unit of county government. The 2nd column is what will be requested from the state of Maryland. And again, the summative total on the right-hand side comprising of the superintendent's recommendation. The final 2 pages speak to the 6-year plan. The 3rd page is the 6-year plan from all funding sources. Again, identifies not just the 19 year, but the next 5 years, as is a requirement of the state of Maryland. And the 4th and final page then is the state subset. So for those items that are eligible for state funding, what is the amount in the 6-year plan that we'll be asking from the state according to their eligibility requirements. We are prepared to answer any questions you may have, but again, as it's been the past, this does require a little bit of soak time on the part of the board, and we'll be prepared to make a much more in-depth presentation and go on an item-by-item, project-by-project basis when we convene here next Tuesday evening.
Ms. Burge.
I just have one quick question, basically so I don't have to go back and look at prior budgets. I figure you all have it all memorized. The Rippling Woods and Old Mill West High School design money in this 6-year plan is slotted for FY 2020. In our original budget last year, before it went to the county, where was it? What year was it slotted?
Certainly. So Rippling Woods, we were asking for design monies in FY 2019. The county's government, the approved county council budget slid it out to FY 2021, and we are looking to restore it by pulling it back by a year to 2020, as you indicated earlier.
Okay, so we had originally requested 2019.
2019 was the board's request as of last February. The council, in its final action, slipped it out to 21. Okay. We're looking to improve that and pull it. Okay,
I wanted to make sure that it was only slipping the 1 year and not additional years.
Correct, and so you had a 2-part question, so let me answer the second part. Your second part had to do with the new Old Mill West School, and we had requested that in FY 2020. The council's action similarly pushed that out to FY 2021. I'm sorry, back up a second. So we requested an FY 2019. When the
Right.
board approved it in March, it was FY 2019. The council's action slipped it out to 2021 similarly, and then we're looking again to pull it back to 2020. So
Okay.
the net effect is a 1 year.
Okay, and that's
one-year
what
slip for funding affordability purposes.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nally?
In just my cursory look, does this mean that all of our open space classrooms will be enclosures, would be complete by FY 219? In other words, there'll be no more open space. I've been waiting for this for 10 years on the board, so I want a date, you know?
So, well,
when there's no more open space.
So the answer to that is unfortunately no,
Oh.
but it's no for a reason, in that we actually have been tackling the open space classroom phenomenon by two mechanisms. The first mechanism is the program you're alluding to, which is the open space enclosure line item project that we have been shepherding those through. As you recall, Ms. Nally, we had on the order of about 36 of these schools when we started this project so many years ago. So with the completion of Chesapeake Middle and Chesapeake Senior High School, those two projects, Chesapeake Senior's under construction now, and we're hoping to begin Chesapeake Bay Middle this next year. That would conclude that funding category. But we still do have some other schools that are open space, Rippling Woods being a good example. So Rippling Woods is going to be taken care of when that comprehensive project goes under. For example, right now, Manor View is also open space, but it's undergoing a comprehensive renovation project, so that's how we're tackling that. So we're going to be out of the open space business shortly, but we need a couple more capital projects to be approved to finally get out of it. The old middle schools and Rippling being those.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other board questions? So if there are any public comments, although I do want to remind the public that there will be a public hearing on the capital budget at our next meeting, September 20th, and the workshop next week. While the public cannot speak, they can come and listen, and some questions may be answered there. But if you would like to make a comment, certainly, please come forward.
I've been talking to many parents from Shadyside Elementary School, which is an open space school, and they've been telling me, since I'm a nurse, I'm very allergic to black mold. And I've heard recently that that's a major issue for Shadyside Elementary School. So I'm wondering, in the budget, if there's any money allocated to fix that type of situation so that we can help protect this. In many cases, it is an easy fix if they can figure out where that mold is located. So if you all could please look into that. I think it's really important. I was able to find out the mold in my house and settle the situation, and I no longer get severe migraine headaches after suffering for almost 20 years. So please look into that. Thank you.
Mr. Shaknovich, is like mold abatement or is that included in capital funds, in capital budgets, or is that a separate category?
It's both operating and capital, depending on the situation. So we have funding within the capital budget aligned with that, and then we have funding within our operating budget, depending on the uniqueness of each individual circumstance.
Ms. Sasso.
Yes. Is there any way, Alex, that you could give us a report or send us a text about Shadyside and the mold?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Ms. Nally.
Well, I'm saying this. I thought that over the years I've been on the board that we have carefully, when I was at one school that had, we send teams in and we really address the mold situation immediately at a school. I can't imagine that it would be allowed.
Correct. Yeah, we absolutely do. We have certified industrial hygienists, and we have other individuals that are trained and certificated in that area. And then obviously we've got teams in our environmental office and then between our operations and maintenance department that would respond to that. So we do that rather proficiently.
That's what I thought. So if there was a problem, or if there were a problem at Shadyside, it would have been addressed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
No, I was just telling you, I spoke with one of the teachers yesterday, and she said it's still an issue there.
All right.
So if you guys could please address it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll see you all Tuesday evening for the capital budget workshop. Item 5.08 is the Edgewater Elementary School design documents. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this item from information to action?
Move.
Second.
All right, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend board approval of the Edgewater Elementary School revitalization design development.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
All right. So. Oh, I'm sorry. We skipped a vote. So we moved from information to action. Do I have a? We made the motion. All those in favor? So motion passes 9-0. Now, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Absolutely. My recommendation has not changed. I'm still asking for board approval of Edgewater Elementary School revitalization design development.
There we go. All right. Okay. So are there any board questions or comments? It does look beautiful. It's going to be exciting. Is there any public comment? So, well, get rolling. Let's get it moving. So, all right. All those in favor? I think we're all in favor. Passes 9-0. Let's get rolling with Edgewater. All right. Item 5.09 is the Tyler Heights Elementary design documents. This is also an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this item from information to action? All right, all those in favor? All right, Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I'm recommending board approval of the Tyler Heights Elementary School revitalization design development.
So move.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions or comments about Tyler Heights? So, nothing. Ms. Burge.
This is actually a comment about all three projects. Thank you for all the interior courtyards. What a wonderful addition for our students to have a safe outdoor space that they can go to and learn and explore. I really happy that that's in all three of the school designs.
Are there any public comments?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Sasso.
Yes, I also want to say with Tyler Heights yesterday with the transfer by themselves of all the students to Monarch, I was so glad to hear that all of those portable classrooms are no longer being used as classrooms, but they're being used for extra activities. So Tyler is just doing well. Thank you.
So, all right. So all those in favor? All right. Motion passes 9-0. Another one. Let's get it moving. All right. Item 5.10 is the Richard Henry Lee Elementary School design documents. This is also an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this item from information to action? All right. All those in favor? Okay. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I'm recommending approval of the Richard Henry Lee Elementary School revitalization design development.
So moved. Second.
All right. Mr. Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam President. So I was comparing the designs from existing to proposed, and noticed just as a result of the capacity of the building having to grow that much, that a significant amount of just open play space has been decreased. Where in the proposed plans are the play structures? Just so I understand a little better.
Sure. If you go to page 57 of your exhibit, you'll see the site plan. Now, Richard Henry Lee, as you know, is an urban school. It's surrounded on all four.
We don't have 57.
Probably. It's a site plan, proposed site plan. Yeah. So you'll see it's along A Street there. You have both a soft and paved play area. And that's for the younger students. And then behind the school along B Street, there's another paved and soft play area. And then the remaining grass fields. Miss Nally is familiar with, for example, West Annapolis. We just had a pleasure of being there. So in our urban schools where we're surrounded on four corners by paved streets, we really try to maximize the usage of the green space, but it is severely constrained. So the design team has gone to great lengths to make sure that the accoutrements that are required as part of the ed spec are facilitated. So we do have that area, but what is lacking is the large multi-purpose type fields. There simply is not the acreage here to accommodate that.
So do we have a percent of a percent reduction of green space? So just so I can get a sense. Is this a third less, a 50% less?
We can check. Kieran Wilmus with Griffin Park Architects. Good morning, everyone. We can check the percentages for you. You'll notice that since the schematic design round, we've made some changes to the parking and the student drop-off area to try to maximize the open green space that's on the corner. That'll be protected by a landscape and fence buffer to shield it from the tree from the street side. But that has been increased since the schematic design. It is less measurably than the existing condition, and we can get figures on that.
Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you again, Madam President. I had asked about this during an earlier presentation, and again, thank you for this. Actually, all of these presentations, I'll just echo what Mrs. Burge said, are phenomenal. Again, just going back to the parking decrease from 59 spaces to 45 spaces, I'm sure the answer is yes, but I just want to be very clear on the record that the parking within the community is in abundance. I know the street parking is going to be necessary. To your knowledge, has that been an issue in the past when faculty and others have had to park in the community?
No, the school's operated successfully in its current environment for in excess of 50 years. We anticipate that continuing to occur. The other thing is that the site plan does have some service parking, so the operations and food nutrition services staff, et cetera, will not have to compete for the parking spaces open to the general public. So we believe that, plus the street parking. Again, if you hearken back to your visit to West Annapolis, they have exactly 0 parking spaces on the whole property. So this is albeit diminished, it's a significant upgrade over 0.
So I am not an architect, but I think y'all are miracle workers if you can put a courtyard in the middle of that building. I don't know how y'all are going to do that, but I'm fully trusting that you are. But having been in that building, that's going to be, I can't wait to see it. So, right. Ms. Nally.
Well, as I've looked through these different plans, I do think you've done a phenomenal job of making use of the land, I think, again, of West Annapolis. But I also think of, as I look at these, of the safety and the improvement in the bus and car and separating. And I understand that you've had to probably give up some of the open space. But I've been in schools where you hold your breath every day because of the bus and the car coming at the same time and the danger. So what I always look at as a former principal and teacher is looking at that, how the goings and comings, that's where your accidents occur, and that is what, to me, you've done a really excellent job in all these plans of addressing that safety issue. Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor? All right, motion passes 9-0. Thank y'all so much. Item 5.11 is the Chesapeake Arts Center third-party project. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this item from information to action?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I'm recommending board approval of the Chesapeake Arts Center third-party project site improvements.
So moved.
All right. Do I have any board questions or comments? I will say that I talked to a EEE STEM teacher who had gone to help set up some of the makerspace there, and she was so excited she was about to burst. She said how fabulous it was. So I look forward to visiting and seeing it all in action. I think this is a great addition for a partnership between the two, so looking forward to it. So are there any other board questions or comments? Are there any public comments? All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 9-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Belinda, would you introduce yourselves so that all of our board members know exactly who you are?
My name is Belinda Fraley-Hughes, and I'm the Executive Director of Chesapeake Arts Center, and we are adjacent to Brooklyn Park Middle School. And if you did not receive an invitation to our open, our makerspace launching. It is September 28th from 3 to 5, and it will be some of the senators, delegates that helped with the bond bill, and also I believe, Dr. Arlotto, you did receive our invitation, but all of Anne Arundel County who has supported this effort with the Makerspace, and it's going to be a great community asset. So thank you again for the school system. Thank you.
It's a wonderful partnership that we have that benefits the whole community around Brooklyn Park. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
And is picking on me. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much. All right, next up are review items. Item 6.01 is the Shady Side Elementary Telecommunications Transmission Facility. Are there any board questions or comments? Ms. Burge.
Yes, I had a question. A lot of the comments that I've received from the public have been concerned about the environmental issues related to the proposed cell tower. And I just wanted to, I guess, ask you when environmental issues are addressed and by who, because I know we're not environmental experts. So I'm just wondering if there is a time and place that that happens.
Certainly. So allow us to introduce ourselves again. I'm Alex Shaknova, Chief Operating Officer.
Greg Stewart, Senior Manager of Planning.
And then, so yes, the applicants are required to go through the entire regulatory process at the federal, state, and local level, local being Anne Arundel County. So as part of their engineering and permit application process, they'll go through all the required environmental studies, the arbor studies, the wetland delineation studies, et cetera. So there are multiple regulatory reviews in the environmental arena, but those are conducted by those regulators at the federal, state, or local level. So it is the applicant, the onus is on the applicant, in this case Milestone, the cell phone applicant. They're going to be making the permit submissions. They're going to have to be able to demonstrate compliance with all those applicable regulations at those three levels in order for them to garner a permit to be able to construct a facility.
So two follow-up questions. One, so does that mean that the school system isn't paying for any of those studies and things?
That's correct. The entire expense and the burden or onus is on the applicant, which in this case is Milestone. It's not the district, school district.
And am I correct, they're not allowed to apply for the permits until it has passed review here at the school system?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have two questions that I think are just mostly clarifying questions. The first is the distance from the tower to the playground area. I know there's been a lot of emails and potential confusion about that, and I just want to clarify for the board and for the public as well, from the tower to where the playground.
Sure. There's so in your package you have a site plan. It's labeled L1. It's the first of the large fold-out pages there. And although the playground equipment's not depicted there, it actually is on the south face of the school, there along Snug Harbor Road. And the distance from the tower to the existing playground structures at the school is in excess of 400 feet.
And if I may, on a slightly different topic, you know, and again, part of this, the rationale for the question is, yesterday I drove past Corcoran en route to elsewhere, but I just love what they did with their tower and the branding of the school that's on the tower. And, you know, I think it's just very creative that they did that. This is a little bit different because it's surrounded by trees. But are there options that can be pursued by way of camouflaging just to make it aesthetically appealing or to fit in with the current environment? Is that an option that the school would have, or the school system would have, or Milestone would have?
Yeah, so there are numerous opportunities. The Corcoran project that you referenced in order, as part of the regulatory review process, it actually had to be constructed as a marquee, and that's why the signage, et cetera, is on that one. So that was a requirement to be able to get the required building permits there. That's to be determined at this site because it's not yet gone through that entire regulatory process. But there are a myriad of different options for these towers. You've probably seen them, everything from clock towers to marquees to towers that are disguised as pine trees. So there are a lot of different opportunities, and those are things that usually get vetted later in the process as you're going through that regulatory review process.
Ms. Korbelak.
I know we've had some citizens suggest that this tower could be located on people's farmland. Do you know exactly what other sites Milestone considered and why they might have been rejected?
Sure. There's actually, so as part of the regulatory process, they have to take a look at co-location opportunities adjacent to the proposed site, as well as other siting possibilities within a 2,500-foot radius, and they have to demonstrate that to the Planning and Zoning Department as well in order to get their regulatory process. So one of the biggest issues, Ms. Korbelak, is that there's a 200-foot setback requirement. So if you think about it, you have to be at least 200 feet from an adjacent property line in all different directions. Well, you know, many sites simply are not that large or not that, you know, configured in that manner. So that sort of, you know, precludes a lot of the smaller parcels from even being considered because they couldn't meet the planning and zoning requirements. So that sort of drives these to larger type parcels. But again, to the satisfaction of the Planning and Zoning Department here in the county, Milestone will have to demonstrate to their satisfaction that they did in fact explore properly and apply the due diligence to other siting locations.
And if I can add, they're also trying to fill in the gaps in the service. So basically it's a donut hole. So moving it to, say, to the west, they may already be towers over there, so they're trying to basically fill in those areas that are missing coverage.
Ms. Sasso.
Following along with the distances from the homes, what is the nearest home and the distance to the nearest home or the nearest structure for this tower?
The distance to the nearest home is 292 feet. Again, site plan L1 shows that.
So it's way beyond the 200,
Correct.
which is required.
It's 200 to a property or a lot line is the actual requirement under the planning and zoning code, and this property is 200 project is 200 in one direction, 241 in the other direction, 432 in the third direction, and 794 in the fourth direction. So,
And the fourth direction is the school itself.
fourth direction is to the property line on the other side of the school. The project itself is 431 feet from the school.
Thank you.
Are there any other board questions or comments? Okay, we do have some public comment on this item. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each. The board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audience that may be watching or viewing this meeting. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I will call the first 5: Mike Shea, Ginger Holliday, Carmen Skarlupka, Jessica O'Kane, and Lee Mann. It doesn't matter. You can decide.
Hello all. Thank you for hearing me again. My name is Ginger Holliday. I know you all are pretty familiar with me by now. One last time, I hope. I would like for you to imagine if this were a courtroom trial, and you, the board, were the jury, deciding the case of whether or not to place a cell tower at Shadyside Elementary School. The prosecution has presented their arguments of better cell service and revenue for the county. Their evidence proving its safety are the arguments, the standards set by the FCC in 1996, and based on studies prior to that date. The defense would call witnesses from the scientific community worldwide, researchers, scientists, biophysicists, all testifying to the more current research being done that proving cell tower radiation is not as safe as we thought in 1996. The defense would call as witness the governing agencies of 15 other countries that have recently changed their lowered standards to hundreds of thousands of times more protective than the FCC standards we have today. It would also call to witness many U.S. agencies that disagree with the FCC standards and testify that they are currently urging our own government to protect its citizens' health more. The defense would rest after making a well-cited, reasoned argument that standards set 21 years ago are incapable of encompassing the scope of technology as it is utilized today. If I could have such a platform, all the evidence would be heard, and I could demonstrate positively to everyone that there are substantial risks to human life. There is more than enough evidence to show a reasonable doubt to cell tower safety. Reasonable doubt is the standard of proof used in criminal trials. Here, the people you convict are on trial for their lives. They are the children at Shadyside Elementary. Our children are in danger of being sentenced to cancer and other deadly health risks based on your decision here today. You may come to regret this decision in 10 to 20 years, but only after it has ruined lives, after it is too late. Make that better decision today. Move to make a change that protects the county children in your charge rather than condemn them. Please don't convict our children when so much credible, reasonable doubt exists. Please stop the cell tower at Shadyside Elementary. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone? Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why isn't the regulatory review that occurs as part of the permitting process sufficient to address the safety concerns that you're raising?
The FCC standards?
No, as I understand it, what happens is after the school system decides to let Milestone go forward and apply for all the different permits, that there's an environmental scrub, there's a planning scrub, there's a health and safety scrub. Why isn't that very well structured and mandated review process sufficient to address the safety concerns that you're raising?
I believe, yes, in just a second, I do believe that the standards that we have today are all that we have to point to. And all of the agencies point to that standard and say that since the standards are being met by the FCC, then we are safe. But those standards are very old and they are changing. They're currently changing with current science and current research in this area. We just haven't caught up yet.
Okay, I just want to unpack that. So, in effect, what you're saying is that there are public officials who are charged with making safety determinations that you're raising.
Yes.
And you're saying that those people are using the wrong standards, and that basically
Very old standards.
we should second guess that without having any expertise in that area.
No, but to examine the standards and the climate that is changing currently across the world, everyone, 15 other countries, are re-examining their standards. And currently, the United States FCC standards are among the lowest in the world, the least protective in the world.
Can I use 1 minute of mine just to...
Well, actually, Ms. Holliday's time is up now, so we need to move on to the next speaker, and you can address when it's your time.
I would like to give you
Okay, just if you give it to the board assistant, thank you. So, Ms. O'Kane, if you're going to go next.
Could be afternoon by now. I wanted to address that, Mr. Grannon. The 1996 Telecommunications Act preempts municipalities from rejecting cell phone towers based on health reasons. So it wouldn't matter if I paraded kids in here who have gotten sick, or kids who get headaches or nosebleeds or suffer from ADD. It doesn't matter. I cannot argue that. A you all can take that into consideration because you are not sitting in a government capacity. You don't have to say, well, we're required to because the FCC says that we should put up cell phone towers. You're absolutely not required to. But the law, as it was written, with $39 million in lobbying money, specifically preempts people from ever bringing any evidence of ill health effects. I mean, it's in there. It's like, and everybody argues it's a violation of First Amendment, and it is, but it's specifically written that way. And it's I think it's Article 7 or 5.5, and I can send it to you if you'd like. My name's Jessica O'Kane. I'm an attorney. I'm a real estate broker. I'd also like to bring to the board's attention that in the master lease agreement, which you all re-upped in June, Milestone Communications is indemnified against any resulting harm in the future, which I find very interesting because if it is so safe, why would they indemnify themselves? I'm sorry if I'm nervous. So anyhow, and it's such an important issue that I'm so upset that people just think, well, the government says it's safe. You know, well, cigarettes were safe, weren't they? Even though we knew the truth then. So you have to ask yourself, the amount of money that you're going to make on these deals, is that worth the county having to shell out of pocket when they're sued for harmful effects down the line? Because that's what's going to happen. The president, Len Forkas, who is here and can address this, said at the public meeting he didn't know that they were indemnified in the contract, which is shocking to me because if I was president of a company, I would know everything that was in that contract, especially something that says, well, I don't have to pay for any harm if something happens. So just like PG County has done, Superintendent Maxwell was our superintendent when this master lease agreement went down in June 2012, okay? He has now come around and he has ended the master lease agreement in PG County, okay, with this cell phone towers. I feel like this process is such that you have a public meeting and you write down the notes and everything, but are you really taking into consideration the views of the people that are going to live in this community, that are going to suffer depreciation of their property values by up to 20% across people who are across the street? I know that people will not get out of the car to look at a house if there is a cell phone tower at the school. Like, this is serious business. This isn't just like, oh, well, no problem. It's already been reviewed by my board attorney and it's compliant with the FCC and we're going to make $5 million on it. People are upset and you have to take that into consideration. You can't just say, oh, it's going to look bad if we go with the community that doesn't want it. I mean, that's the whole point. You have to listen to the community that doesn't want it. And if you review the record from that night at the community center with over 100 people there, it didn't hear, she'll vote that she's in favor of it. I didn't hear a lot of people said that they were in favor.
Thank you, Ms. O'Kane. Thank you.
So please do your due diligence.
Thank you. Ms.
And listen to
Corballat.
your community that you represent.
Ms. Corballat.
I just want to say that we have been tracking the number of people who are for the tower and who are against it, and actually we have more people who have spoken out and written to us in favor of the tower.
That's ridiculous. That's just like numbers.
I'm just stating the facts of what we've been heard, what we've been told.
Mr. Grannon. You're out of order, please. Mr. Grannon.
I just want to make sure.
She
I'd
can
like to
sign
make
up to speak.
Why doesn't she have a mic? Bullshit. Yeah, it is bullshit. Excuse me. You're going to have to leave. You are accountable to something.
Okay.
Where are you concerned about a
Excuse me. You are out of order. You are out of order. You may sign up. You may sign up to speak. You may. Please leave. Please leave the room. Thank you. Please leave.
Shame on you.
If you wish to speak, you may fill out a card and you will have a chance to speak up here, but you may not holler out from the audience. You may sign up to leave. If you cannot, please leave if you are going to be out of order. Okay, we're going to take a recess and we'll come back in 5 minutes and hopefully people can get themselves together. Thank you.
I'd like to finish my question, which is
we're going to take
the provision of the
recess.
law that you purport, the 1996 Telecommunications Act. The provision of the law that you purport preempts health and safety regulation. I'd like to see that.
We're in recess right now. Our recess has come to an end, and we're going to get started. And Mr. Graham is... Okay. We are going to continue, and so for our next public comment cards, Carmen Skarlupka, Mike Shea, Jean Lessica, Kathleen Kuhn, and Jennifer Caton.
Let's be clear. Let's be really clear. You are the deciders. You are the ones.
Could you state your name for the...
Mike Shea, Shadyside, Red Top Farm. You are the deciders. The process started here. The process tracks here. The process ends here. That person right there, the far person in the back of the room.
Please don't do that. We're not going to be singling
He was the
people
one
out.
at our public meeting that assured us, we have sent you the clips, he assured us that in September you were going to vote up or down on how this project goes forward, whether or not it goes forward. So you need to take personal responsibility, whether you're going to err on the side of safety for our children or not. One thing that wasn't mentioned in his site plan, kindergarten addition is going on the back of that school. That tower is right next to the playground. That open area is where the children play. Others will speak to the international standards that are different than our standards. But I will say, and I mentioned why Lynn Forkus and Milestone was canceled by Kevin Maxwell. He heard the concerns of the parents. That one thing alone is enough to cancel it. You don't need to, even though you should err on the side of safety, it's the process and transparency that he was fired for, along with the concerns of the parents. The process is broken. The first time we heard about it at this public meeting, you had already targeted our community. And Stacy, for the who has how many on this side or that side? Well, at the only public participation meeting, 99% of the people didn't want it. And how do we know that? How do we know what happened at that meeting, whether Lynn Forkus and Milestone tells you this happened? Because we have it up on YouTube, the entire meeting. You should watch it before you vote. And you should vote on it. This isn't an agenda item. You've targeted our community. You need to personally be responsible whether it goes into our community or not. And to do so, you need to watch the public meeting. Really the only attempt that the public has to participate. You know what? Cellular carriers warn their stockholders that they could be liable for future lawsuits. They have to do that by law because they know it. Insurance companies won't insure for this type of liability that we're talking about. And what have you done in the contract that you have with Milestone? Hold Milestone harmless for the type of future liability that we're talking about. It's in the paragraph after the insurance paragraph in the agreement.
Thank you.
Carmen isn't here today, and so Carmen Skalupa isn't here today, so I'll be taking her place. Okay, where is that?
Right over at the table.
Can I
There will
fill
be
it-
a chance. There will be a chance for you to speak after all the public cards, or, the cards that are filled out.
Okay, thank
are
you.
done.
Where you said over there?
Yes.
Okay, let me get that.
Okay.
Hi, Jean Lessica. I pose this project. I've sent you guys some emails. Thank you for reading them. I have a child who attends Shadyside. I'd like to address board process and transparency regarding this process. In June, you voted via consent agenda to renew Milestone's contract to construct cell towers at schools And this vote occurred a month before the Shadyside Community Outreach meeting with no input from the public. I had to research exactly what consent agenda means because I didn't know. And I found that typically a consent agenda groups together routine, procedural, and non-controversial items into a single motion. I find it hard to believe that cell towers on schools is a non-controversial item. A quick internet search referencing districts and cell towers results in a wealth of news articles and lots of websites designed solely to offer parents and community members a chance to share information and voice their concerns. So I would argue that this is an extremely controversial project. I also question whether cell towers are routine or procedural. Mr. Stewart, who represented the board at the August 9th community meeting, was either confused about this project or misinformed because he said at the meeting, and it's on video if you choose to watch it, that the board needs to approve the project formally to move forward. But here we are today, and this item is listed as a review item, which needs no vote. Our group and many groups who have fought against this issue with you before do not believe that this is an open process and that you are not seeking to gain public input as you state. We send questions to Milestone, we send questions to you, and they're not answered. Industry representatives are afforded the opportunity to give multiple presentations and meet with you in private. We here today have our 3 minutes, and yet we take it with the hope that our words and that our concerns will somehow sway your decision today. Yes, you don't need to formally vote today to move this project forward. However, board policy states that you can take action to preclude this meeting, this project from proceeding, because it is certainly within your power today to deny Milestone's application, because after this review today, there will be no health and safety review. As board members, please protect our children. We absolutely need you today to be brave.
Mr. Grannon.
Thank you. Before our recess, it was stated by one of the earlier speakers that the 1996 Telecommunications Act expressly preempts localities from denying permits to cell phone towers for health and safety reasons. That proposition was made. I asked a question about it. I'm incredulous that such a provision exists. If it does exist, I'd like it to be brought to our attention in the next few minutes in an orderly way. Second, you just made an express statement that no health and safety scrutiny will be applied to this project. If that is the case, I'd like to see something that says that. If someone can say to the contrary, that there is an agency that will perform any kind of health and safety review of this proposed tower, I'd like to hear that too. Because these seem to be pretty fundamental questions. Maybe I'm the only one that has these questions, but no one can seem to be specific in making their points. That's what I would like to hear. I don't want to hear things, I'm telling you all, I don't want to hear things about the FCC's not keeping up with Europe. That's not going to potentially persuade me. What I am telling you is if you can be specific and point to specific provisions that say, here, planning and zoning does not have as part of its purview health and safety concerns, that's going to be important to me. If you guys can be specific, I can tell you, I, for one, will specifically move that this review item be converted to an action item for our next public meeting. Okay? I want to see specifics. I don't want to hear hyperbolics. Thank you.
Thank you. I have that information for you. I'm just asking. I don't need to speak.
No.
I just want to give him the information. Okay.
Okay. We can give it to John Earl.
Okay.
John Earl will address this. Okay.
Ms. Kuhn, it's your turn.
Good afternoon. I am Kathleen Kuhn, a resident of Shadyside, living on Idlewild Road in the circle that would be greatly affected by the building of a cell tower. I am also an Anne Arundel County school teacher and a hobbyist beekeeper. I mention this so that you would know that I am a credible resident and that I love children and nature. I am in strong support of this project. I was so excited to hear that a cell tower was being considered for our community. I rarely have cell signal at my house, which means I cannot give up my landline. In one of the many visits to my house by the repair phone service, one technician had to use his Verizon service to call the office. He said he'd be back, and not to laugh if I saw him standing on the roof of his truck to get a signal. I believe that there have been inaccuracies that have been reported to you about all the dangers of cell phone towers. In an article written by the American Cancer Society, it states that the waves would go out parallel to the ground above the roof of the school. Those of you who claim you have a cell signal at Shadyside may have been lucky enough to catch our signal once. It was probably a sunny day, and you were probably outside. If you are one of the fortunate people to have cell phone reception when you sit on your living room couch at home, you and your children already have what we are asking for. Your actual cell phone and your microwave potentially causes a larger risk to your health than the addition of this tower. If you go to the website where Milestone has posted pictures of what the cell tower would look like, you will see that it is barely visible. It is not a huge tower. It will not be taking any playground area away from the children, as it will be placed in a wooded area with access from Idlewild Road, not Snug Harbor Road. As far as the fear of a leak from a backup storage fuel container, many of us have oil tanks behind our houses. I have a contract with my oil company to check the tank and replace it if it shows signs of deterioration. This can happen for the cell phone tower's backup fuel system as well. I believe that many people think that the construction of the tower has already begun and that this is why people have become so emotional. This is not true. The construction on the playground of Shadyside is for the new addition and the construction going on in Jack Creek Park. With the current storms brewing in the Atlantic this week, I think about safety. Will my cell phone work if I call for help or try to let my family know that I'm okay? Cell service will only get worse over time as more people use cell phones and other wireless devices. Someone is going to build that tower somewhere. If it's not on county property, then it's going to be on private property, and you will lose the control of how it is maintained. The truth of the matter is that putting the tower on the county property means that someone will be looking at the safety of that tower on a regular basis. I understand that you don't think Shadyside gets a big enough cut at the profits. As a school teacher, we know how to make money go a long way to benefit your children in the classroom. I am asking that you support the building of the cell phone tower. I am hoping that those involved with the decision look at the real facts and not emotional testimonies based on uninformed opinions. Thank you.
Ms. Caton.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Groom-Caton. I am a resident of Shadyside, and my fourth grade son attends Shadyside Elementary School just as I did. We hear about the dangers of cell phone radiation. I worked in telecommunications for 16 years. I worked in a building probably smaller than this one with a cell tower in the parking lot and repeaters on the roof. I have no health issues regarding that. They have also asked to place the tower a half a mile away in the community center parking lot. Our kids go there. My son has Boy Scout meetings there. He's still in the same range. It's about money. Property owners are claiming a devalue in their land from the placement near the school. I know people who have refrained from moving to Shadyside based on lack of coverage alone. Why am I fighting so hard for this tower? It's simple. Our landlines are virtually obsolete. Technology is moving along and we need the boost in service. There's virtually no service inside of the school or nearby. There are dead spots everywhere across our town. The teachers use programs in school like Parent Connect, Remind 101, and Twitter that need a reliable connection. They need to be able to get in touch with us in an emergency. We have one single local tower supporting all of us. Every phone, every tablet, every device that we're using in the area. These devices have been proven to emit 3 times more radiation than the tower itself. The same devices that most of our children are already using probably on a daily basis. If the claims were true about radiation, we'd need to ban all cellular devices in Shadyside to avoid cancer, and the tower placement would be the least of our concern. Sadly, the reality is one day very soon we will have too much traffic on that tower and our phones won't work when we need them. Even now with a landline backup, a car accident on Shadyside Road that takes out a landline pole would leave us all with no service because the existing tower can't handle that traffic all at one time. My family's safety in an emergency and on every other day is more important than land values or who gets what check. I think the opposition is fueling unwarranted fears based on a financial agenda and not a safety and reliability one. Please do not let the financial agenda of these small few in our community bully this board into backing out of this plan. Shadyside houses over 6,000 residents, only about 100 or so vocally opposed, and with most sharing incomplete or inaccurate information. The school and the community want and need this tower. Thank you.
John Earl and Julia House.
Morning. Good afternoon. Hi, I'm John Earl. Live in Shadyside, Maryland. So it's an inconvenient truth, and I now understand why they chose that title. It's a truth nobody wants to believe, despite the fact that it's true. And RF hazards are really another inconvenient truth brought to us by industry. And in typical fashion, government is slow to respond. None of us here want to be worrying about this. That's a truth. But we have to. And we love our conveniences. We love, fast food, big fast cars, checking Facebook when you're waiting for your kids to get out of school. But these conveniences, they come at a price, to ourselves and to others around us. It's an inconvenient truth that the FCC guidelines used at our schools in the reports generated by the schools are set at 1 milliwatt per square centimeter. Magathi River School, middle school, has readings as high as 1.945%, which translates to readings that, for example, in Austria, you don't want to hear about this, but in Austria, it would be 194 times over their limits, safety limits. And even Russia, it wouldn't pass as safe, wouldn't pass. It's kind of like setting the speed limit at 1,000 miles an hour, and then therefore driving at 100 miles an hour would be safe, right? And once you push this through and construction begins, there's really no opportunity for health and safety to down the road to address the issue until the FCC standards are changed, because everything goes back to that, right? Excuse me. It's an inconvenient truth that other counties are leading the way in the changes that are happening, that they're choosing not to put their head in the sand. They're choosing to realize what the risks are. They're choosing to protect their citizens. I don't understand why time over time in history, we should know that industry is the last people we should just be trusting wholeheartedly. We should be questioning them, not questioning citizens that are concerned about what's happening. And it's an inconvenient truth, for sure. School boards across the county and country who aren't afraid to face the truth are pushing back. Industry hates this, but why is it your job to make industry happy? Let's face the truth and do what's right. Thank you.
Mr. Grannon.
Sir, I appreciate your comments. I know you don't want to hear about this. I've tried to be very, very clear. That's 3 more minutes of a wasted opportunity. That's 3 more minutes of a wasted opportunity of hyperbolics. Okay. Specific questions. I need specific answers.
Can read you
not from you. You've used your 3 minutes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. But what I mentioned in my 3 minutes, which is in the FCC guidelines, is that environmental impacts from RF can't be considered when from planning and zoning.
Yes.
When proposing or through that process.
Yes.
It's section 704A.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Julia House, Shadyside, Maryland. Our community has grown in population and continues to grow. Not only will your cell tower impact Shadyside Elementary and Anne Arundel County Public Schools, it will impact the community. Our community is a peninsula. We are a water-based community. We are constantly out on our boats, our kayaks, our canoes, and we need water safety as well. We need to be able to use our cell phones. There isn't a landline in a boat most of the time. There's a cell phone. Please do not allow the false information or the unproven data to weigh in your decision. Many of the community members want the cell tower but are unable to be here today. They have sent emails and signed the petition in favor. The petition in favor of the cell tower was signed by Anne Arundel County residents and parents of Shadyside Elementary only. Please consider this when reviewing your other petitions presented. Please do not take into consideration the state of Texas, California, or any other state. Do not take any account of other counties. It's Anne Arundel County. It's not just about $25,000. Shadyside could greatly use the $6,000, and we will definitely take it. Our school needs things. We need different technology. We need books. We need a lot of stuff in our school, and we will certainly take it. And so could Shadyside Southern High School. We all know Anne Arundel County Public School is severely underfunded and could use the money also. In recent situations, last week I was at the school helping back-to-school kids. I had car trouble in the parking lot. The school had already dismissed for the day, the staff had left, and I was left alone in the parking lot. For 15 to 20 minutes, I attempted to call a tow truck 3 or 4 times before I was able to relay my message and my location. Pizza sales last year. I was a fundraiser coordinator. I was out in the parking lot calling parents to remind them that it was 7 o'clock and their pizzas hadn't been picked up. Book fair. I'm at the book fair from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. during the day. I'm a working parent. I have to leave and go out in the parking lot or walk around in the streets to call to check in at my office. Teacher orientation. I was there last week welcoming the staff back to the school for the beginning of the school year. I had missed numerous calls, numerous text messages when I got off of the property and driving back to school, to work. I am an active parent. I knew in 2012 that cell towers were coming to Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I knew in March of 2017 that Shadyside was on track to receive a cell tower. As a PTO vice president, I was privy to that information, and I shared that information with other PTO members. I attended the Board of Education meeting on 6/21, where that information was presented. I was at the public hearing, and I was embarrassed by my community in the way that actions took place. Thank you for being transparent with those of us that are active and aware. The cyber world is coming to our students, and we need the technology. Our #1 request from teachers, staff, and admins, and even the students, is more Chromebooks, more technology, more web-based systems, more learning environmental through technology. Thank you again for our school renovations and improvements at Shadyside Elementary. We are excited and ready for a great school year. Thank you.
James Fonfara and Shauna King.
Hi again. I apologize for my outburst. I'm very passionate. I live in Shadyside, and over the summer I was not made aware of this. I don't feel like there was enough effort in getting this out to people. I do not have Facebook. Why didn't I receive a piece of mail? Why wasn't there something? The only thing was a no tower cell sign in Shadyside, and that was the only bit that I had to go off of, and then spend time trying to even find this today, that this is even going on. It's frustrating to see all these people come forward with quite a bit of evidence stating that there's not enough sufficient evidence that this is even remotely healthy for our kids. And then the only other argument against it, opposed, is that we don't have cell service. That sounds so shallow, incredibly shallow. There's landlines, there are other ways. you know, it's concerning that with all this brought to your attention that there seems to be a disconnect. It's like it's frustrating. It's frustrating to come here today and feel like I have very little power other than 3 minutes, which as soon as that dings, that's it. And you guys get to decide whether I even get another voice again. Yet I've been paying taxes for how long in this area? And I get 3 minutes? I wish I could have been here sooner for this. I wish I could have found these people sooner. And then if I could have another 3 minutes to get something composed together for you guys. Tell me what you need for me to prove against what you want, and I will go to my best efforts. If you want door-to-door names, phone numbers, emails, if you want numbers and bodies here, I will provide that. I will go night and day to get that here to prove. I don't know what their petitions look like, but why aren't those presented on a board? Why is this, where are the emails that you're speaking of? I'll bring you people that don't want this, that live in this area. I'll bring you information that argues against this cell tower going up. My house is maybe half a mile from this school. Where is my voice?
Mr. Grannon.
In response to your comment or question, I would like to hear the text of, I think your colleague mentioned Section 704A of the 1996 Telecommunications Act, which you all are purporting preempts localities from denying permits to cell phone towers for health and safety purposes. I am incredulous about that. I'd like to hear that. I'd like to hear that provision of the law from someone who is in favor of this cell tower. If you can point me to anything in writing that specifies the name of the agency that provides the health and safety determination about this cell phone tower, I would appreciate it.
Why is the study that's being performed about the cell tower being performed by the company that's putting up the cell tower? That was a huge disconnect for me. I'm sitting here in the audience for the first time learning about this more, and I'm hearing that, and I don't see, you guys are all educated people. You don't get to where you're at by not getting educated and informed. So can't you see that that's somewhat biased sounding? For the company that's putting up the cell tower to be performing, why wouldn't there be an independent study? Tell me where. Well, I'm sure plenty of.
I personally sent it to some of your members that sent out emails. And in return, I got an estimate back on some calculations. I checked them with a physicist who does the RF. This 2 days ago, I think it was, or yesterday, okay, which he knows radiation up to today. And he looked at the calculations that were sent and said, this is the most ridiculous thing. You know, what are you people trying to prove? And he asked me, please tell the gentleman to send me how did he reach those calculations, which were utterly ridiculous, so that he could see what it was and he could answer it. I never got an answer for his calculations.
He did respond. Sir? That's out of order. Okay. Thank you, Ms. King.
I have one last question.
Okay, very quickly. Your time is up.
I can't remember it. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Is this it after today? If you guys decide that it's reviewed, then that's it?
If this passes review today, it will then go, and then Milestone will begin the permitting process, which will have to go through state and federal and county permitting.
Okay, I remember my question. There are plenty of state parks in Shadyside. If this is an argument of really needing a cell tower up and that there's no valid argument towards health of our kids, why is it not being put somewhere else? There's like 3 different state parks within Shadyside.
That was addressed earlier, that they do sites, and part of the permitting will be that they will have to show that Milestone will have shown that they have looked at other locations, but there is a donut hole of service in Shadyside, and so part of it will be that it's located in the place that's needed. Ms. Holliday, you've already spoken. You can't speak again. Okay. And So that is part of what's going. You can't just put it anywhere to meet the service demands of the area.
And it happens to fall within the school. The school happens to be.
And it's kind of, and again,
Can the school not be moved?
There will be a permitting process that goes on,
What's
and
silly about that?
there's a permitting process that will be done, and there will be a chance then, if this moves forward and it goes to permitting, that the public can also speak up at permitting hearings and things there as well. So there are other opportunities in the future if this moves forward today.
Now you say speak up. Does that? I could speak up at a lot of things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I could speak up at a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily
right.
mean a vote.
You're right.
So you're telling me that that's not a vote. That would just be speaking up.
I'm telling you what the process is and that you can go through for that. So thank you. Thank you. Miss King, you're out of order now, and your time is up. Thank you.
I appreciate it, but they need it.
Yes.
That is a valid argument.
Okay, please. Thank you, Mr. Fonfara.
Yes, thank you. I spoke at the last one, last meeting we had here. Also, Mr. Grannon, the information you're requesting is right here in this email. I don't know if you'd like to take a look at it now or whenever. What I came up here for is to talk about. I'm not going to hit up with all the FCC stuff and whatnot. I know, kind of beating a dead horse at this point. What I wanted to bring up was cell coverage has been brought up by all three of the people that have come in here to that are for this tower. Why does the school, Anne Arundel County School Systems, care about the cell phone coverage for someone's personal use? That is a question. So.
I'll say that we care because we have parents that are and teachers who have personal lives and that use the school building, and they have to access their family and their children and things like that. So if the school, for instance, is calling a parent on their cell phone and there's not coverage that's going through, that could be a risk factor for children. So we do have a vested interest in cell coverage as well. You are out of order, please.
Okay, so thank you for the answer. I just don't understand why, that's all great, that's all fine and good, that, trying to get a hold of parents and whatnot. So I don't understand why the school needs to put it on school grounds. Why the school needs to be involved in it, when, as previously stated before, there's other places to put it. I really don't want to harp on anything too much that's already been said, but as a parent of students that are going to go to this school, I can't see my children in the school if this tower gets erected. It's just, that's how it is. So it's very unfortunate. I moved down to this county for a couple of reasons. One of them is because of kind of lack of technology. I like it. I don't like to be all in the city. I work in the city all the time, and I like to get away from the hustle and bustle. So, now it's just one more element that is just, it's just not okay. It just behooves me that something like this could go on this far without. This is what the third time this is the second time that we've seen with the school board where this topic has been brought up. And the last time was public comment, and the previous time was a community meeting. It had nothing really to do with the school board. There's one more point I wanted to get to. You had mentioned something, Mrs. Korbalek. You had mentioned something about emails in support. Were you aware that there is a petition right now currently against the cell phone tower?
I am, and I've seen the petition, and the signatures are from people from places like San Antonio, Texas, Scottsdale, Arizona, Battle Creek, Michigan, Edmond, Oklahoma, Lehigh, Utah, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Cypress, California.
All how many are we up to? About 300 now? All 300 of them are from those various counties?
They're certainly not all from Anne Arundel County, Shadyside.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you give that note to Ms. Howell, please?
No. So, are there any other public comments at this time? Okay. All right. The public comment portion is closed at this point. So, okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Grannon.
I have a question. Dr. Lotter, I don't know if this is your bailiwick, but perhaps you or Mr. Shakhnovich, can anybody tell me the name of the public agency that makes the health and safety determination about the proposed cell phone tower? That's what I'd like to know.
Postpone the review.
Mr. Granite, I sent that to your email.
If you call out again, you'll be escorted out, please, okay? Please maintain order.
For the record, Alex Shakhnovich, Chief Operating Officer. At the federal level, the FCC, the Federal Communication Agency, is the department charged with that. They obviously gather input from other federal agencies like NIH, et cetera, but it is the FCC ultimately that's the arbiter of that decision.
So no Maryland entity further down the line will make any health and safety scrub about this proposed cell phone tower. That's what that's all I want to know.
That determination at the local level at the local regulatory level is precluded under the FCC statute that was referenced earlier.
That's a Section 704A.
Correct. I believe Mr. Bennett had briefed the board to that effect as well, and it's been litigated both in the Maryland by a Maryland Administrative Hearing Officer as well as before the County Council with the Office of Law. So it's a rather well codified section of the code, and the federal code speaks strongly to two aspects. One is that health concerns cannot be the basis of a prohibition. That's a preemption element. And the second element is that the federal code requires that public landholders at all levels, municipal, county, state, and federal, that they view telecommunications as an essential public safety element. Just slightly below 80% of 911 calls that are received nationally and here locally similarly situated are received via cell service, and the landline element footprint is continuing to go lower and lower and lower. So the vast majority of 911 communications are going through cell service. The federal government views that as a matter of national concern and therefore has directed that public sector landholders and the school districts do align with that edict from the feds are charged with identifying opportunities where cell service can be enhanced or improved such that it can foster two elements the federal government cited. One, emergency communication, and the second one is the orderly conduct of commerce, because so much of the commerce and interstate commerce is actually goes out over the radio band airwaves now instead of the landline airwaves. So there's a lot of federal involvement and in this issue.
Okay, so that seems to validate the comments that were made earlier about the law that I was incredulous about. So that, again, that's my ignorance. I'm just trying to get educated. That's what this hearing is for. I will say that I am very sympathetic to some of the concerns that have been raised by the people that are opposed to this. You know, I'm a parent of small children. I think I would have potentially similar concerns if what they're saying about these health and safety issues are true. I'm equally sympathetic to the community members who are saying that they can't talk on their phone, they can't talk about their kids, they can't call their spouse or another family member to decide, okay, well, who's going to pick up the kid today if they've got to make a change because they can't get cell phone service. These are serious issues, and I think that there's potentially merits to each side of them, and I think I am very sympathetic to people from the community saying that they don't understand the process, there's not enough transparency. I do think that in an issue this controversial, that the public is entitled to the accountability of an up or down vote, and I move that this review item be converted to an action item for the board's next public meeting.
Is there a second for that motion? The motion fails at this time. Ms. Burge? Mr. Shea, you're going to need to leave if you can't be quiet. Ms. Burge?
I just wanted to say, I'm going to wait. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that the members of this board do take their job very seriously, and we do read every email that comes, and we did look at every petition that came in. we are very dedicated to this job and to serving the people of this county. I wanted to comment about a comment that was made earlier that I think was quite offensive to myself and the other members of this board, that we are somehow getting kickbacks. That
You
we
are
are
out of
somehow
order.
getting
Please
kickbacks.
be quiet. Please
we,
do not
We
holler
do
out.
this job for $6,000 a year. I'm going to wait. We do this job for $6,000 a year, not because we're trying to make money, not because we're trying to get rich. We do this in service for our county and our communities. Sometimes our decisions may not be what everyone wants, but
Big surprise. There's no vote on this. There's no voice. It's you guys.
Out of the room.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Continue moving out of the room. Thank you.
So I just wanted to make sure that you know that regardless of what happens, we have been paying attention. We do understand the concerns. We just may have a different opinion about what needs to happen. I'm not, so I just wanted to make sure the public realizes that this, I mean, I've been here for 9 years doing this for $6,000 a year. So for the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that I have devoted to the children of this county, to the schools of this county, I've gotten about $54,000, which most people make in a year. And I spend somewhere between 10 and 40 hours a week doing this. So I was offended, and I was offended for my colleagues who are so devoted to the children of this county by some of the statements that were made both here today and in many of the emails that I received about how we were on the take. I think that's all I needed to say.
Are there any other board comments at this time? Okay. Item 6.02 is award of contracts. Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Okay. Oh, Ms.
Yes, my question was about the timing of the roof repair. Did we really just put this out in July and it's already going to be done? It just seems like that was really fast, and I just wanted some follow-up on the timing of this contract.
For the record, Alex Shackno, the Chief Operating Officer. Two things. First of all is it was a repair, it wasn't a replacement. If it would have been a comprehensive replacement, it certainly would have taken not one summer for a small building. For large buildings, we break it up over 2 summers. So this was a repair. The second thing is we had to wait for availability of funds. We didn't have the appropriation authority until after July 1 to issue the contract, so we had to procedurally wait for that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
That concludes the meeting of the board. The next Board of Education is Wednesday, September 20th at 10 a.m. The board will hold a workshop on the FY 2019 CIP and capital budget at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 12th. The public is welcome to attend, but no public testimony will be taken. The next board policy meeting is Wednesday, September 13th at 1 p.m. The next board budget committee meeting is Wednesday, September 20th, 1 hour after the conclusion of the board meeting. And again, the next board meeting is Wednesday, September 20th at 10 a.m. This will be a daytime meeting due to Rosh Hashanah beginning at sundown. Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the board go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals.
So move. Second.
Motion passes. We are adjourned.
Cuéntanos cómo surge la idea de tener esta revista bilingüe y hace cuánto que tienes la revista.
Bueno, la revista, la idea en sí nace de la necesidad de ser padre, de ser maestro, de ser alumno y de ser una persona trabajadora siempre. Y yo creo que todos tenemos en sí y en común la necesidad de comunicar.